Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Demontae bringing you a banger. Don't forget to go follow on my Twitch, please. Here you will never miss out on daily Payday content. This section of the video is for the members. I appreciate you becoming a member of my channel. You have access to videos before they come out, just like this video. Thank you so much, Akatosh, for being my very first member to my YouTube channel. I do appreciate it, my friend. Hey there, Payday 2 enthusiast, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into the world of Crew Chief, sharing our top tips and our strategies for the build to help you dominate when playing Crew Chief. Now, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications so that you never miss out on my new videos. Now, let's get into the tips. One of the most notable things about the Crew Chief is that you get a 400 HP pool, okay? Now, when you actually are playing the Crew Chief, you have to stack up hostages and get yourself a Joker to achieve this, and I have the math to break it all down. So we start out with 276 HP as the base HP value. So if we grab a Joker for 69 HP, that throws us up to 345 HP. Now, I will have you guys note that each hostage gives you 13.8 HP, which results in you getting 4 hostages to stack yourself to 400 HP. So from 345 with the 13.8, that throws you to 358. 358 plus another 13.8 puts you at 372.6. 372.6 plus another 13.8 equals you to 386.4. Adding another, 8 or 13.8 to the 386.4 gives you the 400.2 HP, which is your 400 HP pool. The armor types that we'll be using are the light ballistic vest at 55 armor. With facts with extra damage reduction, we can make light units be a consistent 2-shot armor. Next will be the 77 armor for the heavy ballistic vest, which is for light units once again, and it'll protect my HP from constantly taking damage. Lastly, we have the ICTV at 238, which grants us a 2-shot armor, and depending on the build, it can be a 3-shot armor value inside of death sentence. Inside of one of the builds, we'll be using the heavy ballistic vest with 126 armor value, so I wanted to go over that as well, just in case anybody was confused when they start to play the build and they aren't getting the same results as the video shows. The Crew Chief build is all about team support and survivability. As the Crew Chief, your role is pretty much to try to keep your teammates alive by supporting them and allowing them to continue to dish out their damage, while you as well are dishing out some serious damage. Now we'll go ahead and look at some of the key skills and abilities to the perk deck that actually make this build shine. Keep in mind that your primary goal though is to keep your teammates alive and well, while also trying to deal significant damage. If you do this, you'll need to focus on certain skills, understand certain abilities in your perk that can enhance your performance and your teammates' performance. Now that I've went ahead and covered some of the basic stuff, we're going to go ahead and go over some of the more advanced strategies and tips. So for you to truly master the Crew Chief build, keep these, tips in mind when playing. The Crew Chief is the main support to the team, so make sure that you're trying to communicate, get your teammates in position, try to coordinate, teammates to do things as yourself with the objective, try to call out enemies, tag everything that you can. These are the things that are really going to make the team play more interesting with the Crew Chief. You'll need to prioritize hostages, and remember that your team's health pool increases are really dependent on this, and your actual HP regen from hostage taker also relies on this. You want to always prioritize getting hostages at the beginning of a heist and try and maintain having these hostages throughout the heist. From an experienced player's standpoint, you want to understand how to push and know when to push. And if you can afford more risks because you have damage reduction, HP increases, and possible 2-shot armor values, that can allow you to be slightly more aggressive in these situations where sometimes the other teammates can't. However, never overextend yourself. You don't have any special abilities, and if you do that, you're putting your team at risk because if you go to custody, they no longer have those buffs. As a little side note though, try to support your team in keeping an eye on their health and understand when they're busting their armors and which scenarios so that you could possibly help them with maybe dealing with the ranged enemy or maybe watching their back so that they can't get their armor busted in a scenario. These are the things that you're going to want to do when playing Crew Chief, is kind of keep an eye on your teammates. Now, inside of Payday 2, damage reduction is a crucial aspect of surviving, especially with the Crew Chief build. To fully understand how damage reduction works, I'm going to go ahead and break down the math behind it. Let's start by looking at the key skills and also the perk deck abilities for damage reduction for the Crew Chief. There is a tier 2 skill referred to as the Quick Fix Aced, which gives you 10% damage reduction for 2 minutes, which is changing 225 into 202.5, which is removing 22.5 damage. Now I also want to mention that Underdog as a tier 1 has a 10% damage reduction for 7 seconds and changes 225 into 22.5 damage being removed, and 202.5 is the actual damage you're getting hit from. Your perk deck ability called Brute Strength grants you 8% damage reduction, and if you're under 50% HP it doubles it to 16. 8% damage reduction changes 225 into 207, which removes 18 damage. Now, the 16% damage reduction when under 50% changes 225 into 189, which is removing 36 damage. The perk deck ability Marathon Man offers you a medium range damage reduction of 6%, which is changing 225 into 211.5, which is removing 13.5 damage. The next perk deck ability being Hostage Situation, which you and your crew will gain 8% damage reduction for having one or more hostages. So 8% changes 225 into 207, which is removing 18 damage. So now this is where it gets interesting. With just the perk deck's damage reductions added together being an 8% plus a 6% plus another 8% if hostages equals up to a 22% damage reduction, which is a 175.5 damage from the 225, which is removing 49.5 damage. So if taking 175.5 damage twice, that equals 351 damage. So if you have a Joker giving you 358 HP plus 2 hostages, that'll allow you to have 3-shot HP. Now in the next scenario, let's assume that you have the under 50% HP. So that'll change it to 16% plus 6% plus an 8%. If hostages, will get you to a 30% damage reduction, changing 225 into 157.5 and removing 67.5 damage. So if we take 157.5 times 2, it equals 315, which is a Joker plus 1 hostage, which is equaling 3-shot HP. So now with the perk deck's damage reduction added together and adding first aid kits or the Underdog, 10% damage reduction, we're getting a 10% plus an 8% plus a 6% plus another 8% equaling to a 32%. That changes 225 into 153, which is removing 72 damage. So if you take 153 times 2, that equals 306, which is a Joker plus 1 hostage, making 3-shot HP. So now with the perk deck's damage reduction added together and adding Frenzy, we have a 25% plus a 16% plus a 6% plus an 8% if hostages is granting us 55% damage reduction, which is changing 225 into 101.25, which is removing 123.75 from the damage itself. If you take 101.25 times itself, you equal out to be 202.5, which is 3-shot armor inside of the Crew Chief Frenzy with all the other damage reductions added. But wait, I'm not done. So in this scenario, let's add 10% damage reduction from first aid kits with the 8%, the 6%, and the other 8% tallying us to 32%. Now if we have a Maniac giving us 24 absorption, changing 153 into 29, or 129, you could take 129 times 2, making it 258, which is not even a Joker or a hostage, allowing you to get 2-shot HP without buffs to make it 3-shot HP. So now with Frenzy 25%, with a 16%, and then 6%, and an 8% added up to be a 55%, now adding a 24 absorption to it, which is changing the 101.25 into 77.25. So if we take 77.25 times 3, that equals 231.75. Keep in mind that if we have 238 armor in the ICTB, that equals us 3-shot armor. Correction, it's actually 4-shot armor. So with the Perk Deck's damage reduction of 8% plus 6% plus 8, equaling to 22, if we add 24 absorption into it, that changes 175 into 151.5. So 151.5 times 2 equals 303, which is a Joker plus a hostage, which makes you 3-shot HP. So lastly, let's assume that now you're under 50% HP and you get a 16% plus a 6% plus an 8%, getting you to 30% damage reduction. Now if we add the 24 absorption, changing the 157.5 into 133.5. 133.5 times itself gives you 267. Now that gives you 2-shot HP, or 3-shot HP I should say, without a Joker or without any buffs to the HP whatsoever. This build uses an AR and a pistol pairing together to effectively handle all ranges of damage. With the primary rifle I have being the AMR-16, it has high accuracy, high stability, high fire rate as well, with high damage for the style of rifle that we're using. We pair full crits inside this build to allow us to push out as much damage as we can during all these ranges. We also bring body expertise while having the 5.7 for a quick spray if needed. As I just previously mentioned, I bring the 5.7 for shields mostly. It is also a good tool to have inside of Death Sentence because you can also shoot through walls, and it'll come in handy to hit things like a bullseye through the wall, or to smack some, bulldozers' face plates through a wall, maybe a sniper through the floor, something along these lines, and that's what it is used for. With Crew Chief bringing damage reduction, I went for armor values and HP values as the main setup. I have a Joker in this setup, which will get me up to 400 HP, and I bring a 126 armor value inside of the heavy ballistic vest. This 126 armor value really comes in handy with things like snipers and the LMG dozer. Lastly, you want to try and focus on the heavy units that are targeting you, while this is going to be the most beneficial way of surviving. Also, you want to grab hostages so that your teammates that are thankful will be happy that you're here. Now, let's go over the skills for the build here. I grabbed myself Combat Medic, Quick Fix Aced, and Uppers. Quick Fix Aced for the 10% extra damage reduction for 2 minutes. I grabbed myself 2 Jokers here while also grabbing myself Hostage Taker to have 2 forms of life regen. Grabbing things like Resilience, Die Hard, Ace for my Ballistic Vest, Bullseye, and Iron Man for that 126 armor value, which is mostly just for things like the LMG Dozer and the Snipers. Next I've got Lock and Load so I can shoot and sprint. I'm grabbing things like full crits inside the build with Low Blow, Unseen Strike. I'm also grabbing things like Inner Pockets and Optical Illusions to keep my concealment. Lastly, we're increasing our things like accuracy and dealing with the dozers more easily with the high value target. Grab things like Equilibrium since we're using the 5.7 pistol. Now for a weapon here, I'm using the AMR-16, which runs in at about 100 damage. Obviously you can use, another, like the AK-17 or something along these lines. This is just the one that I went for. I go for the long barrel, which is accuracy and damage driven. Next I grab the bigger the better for the accuracy stability. Next we are grabbing the concealment increase. Then we are grabbing the blast from the past for stability and concealment. Next I'm grabbing the compact laser for no change. Next I'm grabbing the titanium skeletal grip for the 2 concealment, but it also gives me 4 accuracy. Next we had grabbed the thrust lower receiver, which is just a damage increase. Next, this one's pretty debatable. but I went for the speed pull mag. Technically, you can grab the plated AR, still have a slight reload increase, but you do get a 8+ to the magazine. Next I go for the 45-degree sights, which is giving me more concealment. Next I grab the see more sight, which is just personal preference. Next for the stocks, you have some decent choices here, but I go for the wide stock, which is giving me 4 stability and 1 concealment. Next I go for the LW receiver, but do note you can use the other one for some extra concealment at the end. But this one's giving me accuracy and stability. As for the 5.7 pistol here, pretty basic. We're using the tin treated barrel while placing the, however you pronounce that, suppressor, which is for concealment and stability. Next we're using the concealment increase, while grabbing ourselves the micro laser for no change, while also grabbing the magazine increase, which is also no change. And then technically speaking, you can throw on the so-called sight for just to have a sight, but it does minus some stability, so just depends on what you want. This build was also featured inside my weekly build series, and it was named the Crew Chief AR build. It had yielded the exact same skills, the exact same weapons, and nothing has changed since. The Crew Chief Sniper Rifle. The Sniper Rifle Crew Chief build uses the ACTB, which is going to allow you to have 2-shot armor, and in some cases, 3-shot armor, and you also will be yielding a 3-shot HP. Crits is easily going to allow you to put out some DPS inside this build. Mostly you just want to keep yourself alive, keep your teammates alive, but remember you only have 35% crits though. For a build like this, you just have to hit your shots and play at range. But once you are close range, if you can hit your shots with the sniper, it is the best option to crowd control with. Once you do get close range within, your enemies, basically you can just pull out your secondary weapon, which has a 75 round mag to it, and you have 100 damage per shot with it. Now with this exact weapon, you use this for your dozers, since it's, yielding such a big damage yield, and it has a great amount of ammo inside of it. It doesn't just have one magazine, it actually comes with multiple. So inside this build, you're effectively handling all ranges of combat, and you don't really need to put yourself into certain scenarios, because you can position yourself correctly and effectively to not actually take damage. So now, let's move over to the skills for the build here. I grabbed myself Combat Medic in case I get Painkiller shouted, while also grabbing myself 2 Jokers, with Hostage Taker being my source of HP regen. I'm grabbing myself Graze, as I've already mentioned, it's great crowd control. Next we're grabbing our things like Underdog, we're grabbing Bullseye and Iron Man so that we can get 2-shot, 3-shot armor. We are grabbing things like Lock and Load so we can shoot and sprint at the same time, so that comes in handy with our sniper, comes in handy with the SMG. Next we grab things like Duck and Cover Parkour to pair together with the other speed skill on the Mastermind so that we can run around quickly, pairing that together with Second Wind. There's not really too many scenarios to where you're slow. We do have Optical Illusions, and then we're also pairing the Professional, High Value Target, and Unseen Strike inside the build. As for your weapons here, I'm using the Long Barrel Rattlesnake, which is giving me an accuracy increase. Next, you can place the Sniper Suppressor here, but you won't be able to one-hit heavy units anymore. Next, I'm grabbing the accuracy increase. Then I grabbed the LED combo, but do note that, to me specifically, stability doesn't matter for bolt action rifles, so therefore take it as you want. Next, you could technically try and conceal this, but the build wasn't concealed, so if you wanted to, 45-degree sight. I personally go for the Seymour scope, so it's just personal preference. As for the stock, technically, once again, you could throw on the tactical aluminum body. Literally is just a aesthetic thing. It just changes the look of it, and that's practically it. As for the secondary weapon here, you have a couple of good choices of 100 damage SMGs to choose from, and even the 90 damage SMGs to choose from. But I do go for this one, which has the 64 round mag, and we grab the bigger the better suppressor for accuracy and stability increases. Next I go for an accuracy increase since we're not locked to any form of concealment. Next I'm going for the LED combo for some more stability. Next I'm going for the aluminum grip for the accuracy increase. You can technically use a secondary sight if you prefer. I'm using a Seymour sight that does give you stability, so you do want to put one on here. Next, as the only stock option giving you accuracy and concealment, you might as well just go for it. This build was also featured inside the 22 Perk Deck video, which is listed here, but do also note that nothing has been really changed from the build since then, so maybe if anything it's been 2 jokers rather than 1 joker, which is a total of 2 points being swapped. The LMG ICTB Crew Chief. A good LMG gunner is capable of controlling a group with staggering them, knocking them over with enough damage being dealt, and the cops are rolling around on the ground, and then killing some, coming back and coming to the grounded cops and finishing them off. Doing this will make a difference with your survival when using an LMG. While we're using the new LMG with 115 rounds, which allows you to aim down the sights, you can shoot consistently and hold off the cops at a distance without really taking much damage. As I just mentioned, you can ADS in this gun, so it actually allows you much more options to use the LMG at range. We bring ammo bags for the LMG and for the defensive play. While having ammo bags lets me hold position and not give up cover to grab ammo, it also comes in handy with situations where you're low on ammo and you need to fight back a crowd of cops and you have nowhere to run. That also comes really handy. We do bring a secondary sniper for shields mostly, but it is good for hitting bullseye through the wall. It comes in handy as well with shooting dozers through the wall, since you can target their faceplate and not really have to peek them and take damage. And then lastly, we use the sniper rifle for reload speed for the LMG reload as well. This helps out a lot when you're in a scenario of, let's say there's a shield pushing you and you got a bunch of other cops running at you, you shoot the shield, but it just so happens that you're low on ammo as well with the LMG. So then you kind of start spraying at them, your mag empties, and immediately reload quickly because your headshot skill is triggered, and then it results in you staying in battle. So now, let's go over the skills for the build here. I grabbed myself double jokers and hostage taker for the HP regen inside the build. Next, as I had already mentioned, we grab ourselves aggressive reload so that when we are using the sniper rifle and we do get a headshot, we can result in ourselves getting a faster reload to our LMG as well. Next, we grab ourselves ammo efficiency, which is only really good if you're using the sniper like more than just 1 kill. Next we go for things like shock and awe bullseye. It's just common skills here. And do note I'm not using shock and awe aced because we do have a sniper rifle which is dealing with shields. Next we grab body expertise with lock and load and surefire aced. Pairing this together is some massive damage output and allows us to sprint and shoot at the same time. Next I'm grabbing myself unseen strike, high value target, and the professional so that my sniper rifle is more accurate, I deal more damage to dozers, and I've got crits for everything. Next I'm going for parkour aced so that I can sprint and reload. As I've already mentioned, we have the headshot skill which allows us to have a faster reload. Now if we're pairing this together with parkour, it allows us to sprint into cover if need be. As for the LMG here, the Akron, if you are doing it the way that I'm doing it, you only really get a chance to put stability on here in the exclusive set for the fire rate increase, for the magazine increase, for the total ammo increase, for the accuracy increase, for the stability increase, for the concealment increase, but for the damage minus. Now lastly, I'd recommend you guys put a sight on this gun, and then, it's purely optional what sight you want to put. Now if you don't go for the exclusive set, I don't believe you can really get 1,000 fire rate or even have good ammo economy. Next, for the secondary sniper here, we use the North Star, which we're going to be going with the suppressor here, which is giving us more accuracy. Next I'm going for a concealment boost, which is just kind of for a different weapon, so it doesn't really bother me. Technically speaking, you could throw like an accuracy here to make you hit more shots, but you do have to keep in mind as we are stacking accuracy skills, so it's not like this is really inaccurate anyways. Next, you can technically go for the exclusive set, but I did not. I go for the compact laser module. Next I'm using the titanium skeletal grip for the accuracy increase. Lastly, you can throw on the 45-degree sight or any of these whatsoever, and then The sight itself is purely optional. And you've got multiple choices through stocks here, and as I've mentioned multiple times before, to me, stability isn't really that needed in a sniper rifle build, so therefore I never really focus it. But technically speaking, you could throw on some stuff here to get, maybe a 92 accuracy, or you can go ahead and grab, maybe some bigger stability increases. It's all, personal preference here. Crew Chief Shotgun build. We went with the old meta setup here being the ISMA and Judge Shotgun. The shotgun we're using is still it's old meta, but it still performs really good inside death sentence. The biggest downfall is just the range, dealing, damage over range. The primary shotgun is used to pretty much kill all cops, but when fighting dozers on the other hand, just be careful of the ammo pool that you have at that moment. Since dozers are literally going to eat it up, you need to be really cautious on what you're doing when fighting dozers. Group killing ability is next to none when having the ability to shoot with a shotgun down a hallway and hit literally everything. As I've already mentioned, I'm bringing things like surefire, buckshot, and we're having a stack up of damage with the overkill that it's, pairing with the crits inside the build, essentially is allowing me to have even more damage increase. And then as I mentioned, I paired it with surefire, which allows my buckshot to be armor pierce, and since that's the case, I can shoot him, in the body and deal big damage to these cops. I grabbed the Judge secondary shotgun with fire rounds to deal with shields mostly, but it does come really handy with any time you need to pull it out and deal with some groups of cops. The Judge can also hit snipers from across the map still, and it still takes them out. It just doesn't insta-fire burn them anymore. It just needs to be dealing enough damage to them to actually kill them. And since snipers have 240 HP, and the Judge is dealing like roughly 150 damage, generally they die in 2 shots. We do bring the fire secondary shotgun also to try and refill our primary ISMA, since the fire easily controls crowds of enemies, which allows me to have the freedom to move around and deal damage without really taking damage myself, and it allows me to pick up all these ammo boxes while things are stunned. So now, let's go over the skills for the build here. I grabbed myself Quick Fix Ace for 10% damage reduction for 2 minutes, and I'm also grabbing Uppers for extra HP regen. Next, I'm grabbing myself a Joker and Hostage Taker to pair up with 2 forms of life regen. Then I'm grabbing the Overkill skill, which I had already previously mentioned for the damage increase. Next, I'm grabbing things like Bullseye, Shock and Awe, but I'm not acing it since we have a fire shotgun that deals with shields. Next, we're grabbing the Surefire Ace. As I previously mentioned, this allows my buckshot to be armor pierce. Next, I'm grabbing things like Low Blow Aced, Unseen Strike, and having things like High Value Target, Optical Illusions, and Inner Pocket stacked to give myself full crits. Now, as for the shotgun here, you have a couple of different ways you can really customize it, but I go for the full concealment essentially. I'm going for buckshot here. Next, I'm going for the short barrel for minus accuracy. Next, I'm grabbing the horizontal leveler, which I prefer my bullets spread to come out flat. Next, I'm using the minus accuracy. Then I'm grabbing the auto fire for more minus accuracy. Then I grab the charging handle for even more minus accuracy. Technically, you could throw a scope mount on here if you wanted a scope, but I didn't go for one. Next, for the hollow handle, we needed this for the concealment. After that, we needed the compact laser for concealment. Then we needed the AK wood grip for some stability increases here. Then we grabbed the Big Brother magazine, which technically isn't totally worth it, but you can grab it or go without it. Totally what you want to deal. Just keep in mind, it's just 4 extra bullets, and 4 extra bullets can be the difference of 4 cops being killed, but just put it into the bigger picture. It is something that you can give yourself concealment with. As I mentioned, you could throw a sight on here. I personally didn't. Next, I go for the classic stock, which is giving me 12 stability, which not really that you need stability, but I'm going for more of a stability-driven setup here, with the fully auto shotgun being shot at the enemies consistently. Last but not least, we're using the railed cover, which is minusing even more accuracy to the build, but it also is giving us more damage and stability. Now, as for the judge here, I've got a legendary skin, so therefore very minimal changes have been done to it. But what I basically have done is just put Dragon's Breath onto it and concealed the skin. Thankfully, the judge naturally comes really concealed, so therefore you're pretty good by just getting a default judge with maybe like a laser gadget on it and changing your ammunition to fire. It's really all you need to do here. The ICTB Zerk LMG Crew Chief. A good LMG gunner is capable of controlling a group with staggering them, knocking them over with enough damage being dealt, having the cops roll around on the ground, killing those guys, and then coming back to the guys that are grounded and then finishing them off. Doing this will make a difference with survival when using an LMG. While we have the KSP for 200 rounds, you can consistently shoot and hold off the cops at a distance that keeps you from taking damage. Next, inside of this setup, we bring a 3-shot ICTB armor setup, which we also pair together with some Zerk inside the build so that we can deal and dish out massive damage. This is not usually the way players will want to play Crew Chief, but it is a very strong way and very viable way of playing inside death sentence. This appoints you to be one of the main DPSs for the group, as well as being a support player to the team because your abilities are still offered to your teammates. Now lastly, we have the SMG of the Para SMG, which is highly customizable, and I've got it to around a 70 damage yield. We will have this in this build mostly for the ammo economy, and since I've got it to 100 accuracy, 100 stability, it is used to hit things across the map as well, like snipers and etc. Now, let's get into the skills for the build here. I grab Combat Medic in case I get Painkiller shouted. Next, I'm grabbing Stable Shot for the LMG. Next, I'm grabbing things like Iron Man, Shock and Awe for the shields, and Bullseye for the armor regen. Next, I'm grabbing things like Body Expertise, Lock and Load, and Surefire for massive damage output, and being able to sprint and shoot, and being able to reload that 215 round KSP quickly. Next, we're grabbing things like Unseen Strike, High Value Target, and the Professional so we have more accuracy, big damage to our dozers, and massive damage output over across the whole board. Next, we do grab things like Optical Illusion so that we're less likely targeted, and then we grab things like Bloodthirst, Berserk, and Frenzy Ace so that we can grab ourselves massive damage reduction, massive damage increase, and if they get too close, Bloodthirst for some massive damage melee. Now, as for your weapons here, the KSP is what I went for, and I went for an accuracy stability driven. I go for the long barrel. Next, I grab the bigger the better suppressor, then went for the bipod. Next, I go for the stability increase while grabbing the LED combo. In the stock, you've got some good options here, but I go for the solid stock. Now, as for the Para SMG, as I've already said, this thing is highly customizable. So I went for the medium barrel for some accuracy increase, then went for the bigger the better suppressor for more accuracy stability increases. Then, inside the boost, I give myself an accuracy increase. Then I went ahead and grabbed the railed foregrip, which gives more, accuracy increases. Next, inside the gadgets, I didn't need anything to give me actual stability or anything, so I just went for the compact laser. Next, I go for the Pro Grip, which gives me accuracy and stability increases. Next, in the lower receiver here, I grab the one that gives me damage, accuracy, and stability increases. Next, I do grab the Speed Pull Mag, but do note that you can go for like the Quad Stack, the Mil Spec, any of them essentially that you want to play in this build. I personally am just looking at it like this. If my LMG is reloading slow, I want my secondary to reload fast. But some players may look at it as maybe I want a large, magazine secondary as well to accommodate my large primary. Both of them work out. I just need to be situational with them. Next, I go for no secondary sights, but I do go for the Seymour sight, and this one's purely optional. But I do recommend putting a sight on here so you can get some more stability. As for the stocks here, you've got some good choices, but I go for the War Torn, which is giving me an accuracy increase of 8, which is giving me a 100 accuracy stack up, and minusing 4 stability, but it's still giving me 100 stability. Lastly, we grab the LW Receiver, which is granting us another 4 accuracy and another 8 stability to the whole gun itself. One of my viewers recommended that I make a Frenzy Crew Chief build, and this one's for you. The AR SMG Crew Chief setup. This build has an AR and an SMG pairing together to effectively handle all ranges of damage. The primary rifle is being the Gecko 762. It has high accuracy, high stability, and it's a 70 damage rifle, but this is the catch to it all. It also has one of the highest fire rates and damage outputs for its class. The SMG we use is the Cobra for concealment mostly, but since we have body expertise and surefire, it is still an effective gun to be using. Like your primary runs out of ammo or something, you can quickly swap over to your SMG for some regen on that ammo. We bring first aid kits inside this build for the aggressive playstyle. This allows us to push pretty much through any situation and helps when you're surrounded by cops and you can't get away, so that you heal yourself and then you can deal with the cops. Lastly, you have the options here to change the weapons that are being used. You just need to really just come within the 23 detection range, and then the build will match its performance. So what that means is that if you grab some more meta style ARs or SMGs to perform with a slightly easier playstyle, you can, perfectly go for that. But just keep this in mind. If you go for the guns that I'm showing you, you don't really have many options to customize them because it's already 23 detection here, and to conceal the Gecko 762, it kind of requires a pretty concealable SMG as a sidearm. Now, let's go into the skills for the build here. I grab myself Combat Medic, Quick Fix, and Uppers Ace so that I have some form of aggressive HP regen. Next, I'm grabbing a Singular Joker with Hostage Taker for a second form of HP regen. Then I'm grabbing things like Underdog, Shock and Awe, and Bullseye, while also grabbing things like Scavenger inside the setup. It is a kind of a high ammo economy setup. That's where the Scavenger really comes into play. Next, I'm grabbing Body Expertise Aced and Surefire, with pairing it with Lock and Load, Fire Control, and Steady Grip to have some accuracy increases, to be able to sprint and shoot, and to be able to pierce enemy armor and deal massive damage to them. Next, I'm grabbing things like Inner Pockets Aced and Optical Illusions Aced to actually conceal my weapons. Next, I'm grabbing things like Low Blow and Unseen Strike so that I'm actually capable of grabbing some crits. Now I'm grabbing my things like Professional and High Value Target to offer myself bigger accuracy increases and bigger damage pool to the special units like Dozers and Tasers. Next, the actual gun here. As I've mentioned, you can choose through quite a bit of different assault rifles, truthfully, and you can actually go for the meta assault rifles here. But if you do go for the one that I'm using, I go for the CQ Beak Foregrip, which gives me 71 damage, 92 accuracy, and some stability minus. Next, I'm grabbing things like the Bigger the Better Suppressor for some accuracy and stability increases. Next, I grab a accuracy increase. Then I'm grabbing things like the Compact Laser, and grabbing the Sniper Grip so that I can get more accuracy increase. As for the secondary sights here, you can throw on the 45 degrees if needed. Next, I would definitely recommend throwing on a sight for this gun because it does have some kick to it. But if you do throw on a sight, it's personal preference here. As for the stocks here, you've got some good choices to choose from, but I actually went for the Sniper stock for that 12 accuracy increase, and then it minuses 12 stability. As I had just previously said, you're going to want to stack some stability in this setup because it does have some kick. As for the secondary SMGs here, for these, low concealment SMGs, you do have a couple of choices to actually choose from, like the Micro Uzi, the Cobra, the Compact 5. You've got some good options to choose from. I just went for the Cobra because it's not a gun that you'd normally see being used. Next, I go for the medium suppressor here. I go for the concealment increase. As for the gadget, we're using the Micro Laser. As for the grip, we're using the Ergo Grip, which gives me 12 stability and concealment increase. Technically speaking, you can throw on an extended mag, but for this setup here, we couldn't afford it. You technically can throw on a secondary sight, but you need to have a primary sight. For what we're using here, we didn't really want a primary sight, but do note that you can still grab a sight and only minus stability. Next, I had to go for no stock, so we had a concealment increase. And that's it. thank you guys so much for watching. I do sincerely appreciate everyone who has actually watched these videos in the series that I've been running. Now, if you guys decide to use any of the builds inside this video, and if you guys decide to change anything inside these builds inside the video, could you guys let me know in the comment section? I'm not the biggest crew chief player, but I have spent some time playing it, and the past few weeks I have really accumulated all the math and mechanics behind it all just to understand what's going on. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the notifications so that you guys never miss out on any videos that come out. So if you guys are interested in checking out any of my other playlist or build series, I've got the How To from a 10K Hour Player, which is the series that you guys are watching now. It goes over individual perk decks, but then gives you multiple builds for all of these perk decks. Next, we have another build series called the Weekly Build Series, which goes over individual builds and ways to play them. It also is always demonstrated inside Death Sentence play, and as you see here, we've got a bunch of individual builds that are used inside Death Sentence play. All have been fully tested, and this is a series that has been going on for a while now.